Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I've got something a little bit different. This is an Argos catalogue from autumn winter 1988, and I thought it would be really nice just to go through this. I've wanted to have a look at this catalogue myself. I got this off eBay a while ago because it's quite reminiscent of my childhood and some of the things I had in my house and my parents had and friends had and my sisters had as well. And all I'm going to do is going to flick through this, show you some of the pages, some of the things that are interesting, and also especially focus on the toys. And I'm just going to drink my cup of tea and enjoy this. So it's a little bit different. Let me know in the comments if you like this, and if there's anything that you find in this catalogue that you had, I'd love to know that as well. So this is what the front looks like, and the back. Just brings back so many memories having a look at these catalogues. I used to spend hours just looking at stuff, mostly things I couldn't afford, but I was never fussed on the jewellery. I think I was a bit too young to appreciate jewellery at the time, but I used to like looking at the watches, which I'm gonna get to because I don't really care about this stuff. I do remember those being popular, these coffee bean, I don't know what you call them, coffee bean pendant. If you can see that. Right, skip ahead a little bit. Let's get to the watches, that's where I used to find that interesting. See, I remember Seconda being a big brand at the time. Now at this time, or near to this time, I had a James Bond watch, and I also had a calculator watch, Casio calculator watch, which I'm pretty sure we got from the Argos catalogue. I think these are the sorts of watches my dad had, and I remember family members having watches like that. I remember a friend of mine having that one, that Timex watch. It's quite a common one. Here we go. This is more what I'm talking about. I definitely had a friend that had that. Definitely had a friend that had that one and that one. I remember these actually. These were the Timex watches. They were really popular. I think some of the girls had those. And that was a really, really popular one. The Flick Flack. I remember the advert saying it was water resistant and shock resistant, and it had these two hands with two little characters, which was quite cool. Seems like yesterday. This is more like it. So, my best mate had that one. I had that one, which was the calculator watch. I think it was like £13 at the time. I was at number 6. There you go, £14.95. Oh, our price £12.45. So there you go, £13. So yeah, it was pretty cheap. Another friend of mine had one that controlled the TV. I don't know if that's later on. And that one was the more advanced calculator watch. I didn't have that one. But the same friend that had that one, he also got that one, which was another database watch. And he had people's names stored in it, which I thought was super cool. What's this one, number 13? That is jogging watch, okay. Some sort of pulse thing on that. Love seeing this stuff. Brings back so many memories. Got carriage clocks. I think my parents had one like that. Alarm clocks. We had my parents had a talking alarm clock, which looking back had the most annoying, horrible voice, and it also had a cockerel thing that went off as well, which I used to hear every morning. Can't see that here. Maybe that was later on. Yeah, I think it was late 90s they had that. Oh Jesus, horrible brass stuff. Bags. Filofaxes, wow. I remember that, the Remington Fuzzaway, I think it was called. I remember the advert. There you go, yeah, Fuzzaway clothes shaver. Did anyone ever buy any of this stuff? Must have done. Pens. I used to like looking at the lighters as well. I used to always think they were really cool. These different sorts of lighters. That was my first shaver. I think my mum got me that when I was about 13, 14. I had bum fluff basically, but I still ended up shaving it. We had that, well my parents had that anyway. I remember my sister's using it. Bright green thing. These seem to ring a bell. We had something like that. Like a swan cattle or something. Coffee machines. That was the one we had, Russell Hobbs. We definitely had that one. I remember that one really well. And we had a matching toaster as well, which was that one. Yeah. No, sorry, would have been that one. Yeah, that one, Russell Hobbs. Yeah, so. Apologies for the glare. Unfortunately, not a lot I can do about that. Sandwich toasters, the Breville sandwich toaster. Used to love those when I was a kid. Well, I still love them now. Yeah. Microwaves. yeah, not really bothered about cutlery and pans. Let's get past all that. Bins. This is all boring stuff. I was never bothered about any of that stuff. Interesting to see some of the old vacuum cleaners. I don't think the vacs has changed that much, but yeah, I do remember these. The Hoover. Dustbuster. That was very, very popular. The Dustbuster. I think it had a battery that lasted about 3 seconds, but they were big at the time. Battery technology hadn't quite made it yet. Irons. Not bothered about this stuff. Oh, here, these are cool. So I used to always think these were fun to look at. I think I always wanted the Thomas the Tank Engine one. I didn't get it, but Postman Pat. I remember that one. Always thought that was quite cool. I think my sister wanted that one. Care Bears. There's some snooker type thing going off there. These look so 80s, don't they? Stripes. I had some curtains that had stripes like that. Right, let's just get past all this stuff. Pretty boring. This was just the start, I think, of getting black. Black was the cool furniture colour to have, the black flat pack stuff, the black desks. I do remember those. I always wanted one of those, a captain's bed type thing, with a desk underneath it. It's pretty cool. Thomas Tank Engine as well. I love Thomas Tank Engine. I think we had that bed actually. My sister's had some things very similar to that anyway. Yeah, that was very cool. Torches, power supplies, gardening stuff, all pretty boring. Car audio might be interesting to see. They got drills. Dartboards. Always wanted one of those, never got one. I always wanted a table tennis table as well. Obsessed with table tennis at school. All the weight stuff. Weight gain powder. Actually, from what they're wearing, you can tell how old this catalogue is. It's kind of a bit of a giveaway, this spandex. But the equipment itself hasn't changed that much, really. Bags. Now, the cool bags were Head and Adidas when I was at school. Puma was also acceptable, but if you had anything high-tech, you'd probably get beaten up. I do remember someone having that bag. I had that bag, but in a bright yellow. And that was a really common bag, that Head bag, like the leatherette kind of looking bag. I remember that really well. More interesting golf, football stuff, bags, cameras. Now these are cool. We had something like this, when it was kind of disposable, sort of, sorry, not disposable, but compact cameras, 35mm. We had something like these as well. We never had one of those, the instant Polaroid stuff, but I used to think they were cool. Yeah, something like this Olympus is really something like my dad had at the time. No digital here, no screens, just pure point and shoot and see what you get when you get it back from the pharmacy or wherever you're getting them developed. Usually crap pictures as well. TV technology. TVs have moved on so much, it's ridiculous. These look so dated now. We had that TV because that was the TV that I used to have my Spectrum and Commodore 64 on, that Hitachi. To be fair, all these TVs have probably got better sound than anything we've got today. The LED and OLED TV sets have got such terrible sound that you have to have a soundbar. Oh, they're really cool. I always thought they were really cool, the little TV sets. Scotch tape, something you don't see now, and cassette tapes, joysticks. God, I remember those things, the wooden looking cassette holders. This is pretty cool. So these are Walkmans. And my sisters both had Walkmans. I didn't have one until I was much older. But this is like Alba and Sony were obviously the leaders in that tech, but they were more expensive. So here we go, here's a Sony Walkman, which are the better ones. Toshiba again, these are really good. Wow. Classic technology. Very nostalgic seeing this stuff. Had so many good memories. I think the first thing I ever listened to on a Walkman was the Michael Jackson album, Bad. And I was absolutely blown away. I listened to the whole thing on my sister's Walkman and just thought it was amazing. Never heard headphones before, so it was pretty incredible. Cool little ghetto blasters. I think that's what they were called. I had a very tiny one like that. But I do remember these super bass 3D woofer type things that were advertised everywhere. These are more fancy ones with multiple speakers. Here we go, car audio. I don't recognise anything like that, but my dad was really into his car audio. He loved it. He had Blaupunkt and he had so many speakers that he used to stick in his car. His MIDI hi-fi systems. These were meant to look like separates, but were just an all-in-one. They were very, very popular. In fact, that was very, very popular, that unit there. That was the Amstrad. And that was a very cheap but popular unit. Let's have a look, number 3. So it was $99.99. Yeah, tuner, belt drive turntable, twin cassette deck. Yep, that would do you. Back in the 80s. Doesn't seem to be any separates here, but they're all MIDI systems. These radio alarm clocks, I always thought those were really cool, the ones with lamps built in. Telephones. God, I think the one we had was even older than those. Definitely remember that one. That was a really popular one. Well, these are the word processors. My sister had a brother word processor. These are really popular. You could plug these, well, some of them anyway, into a TV screen as well. So this is pre-PC technology. Our scientific calculators. Again, I used to be fascinated by these. Didn't know what the hell most of the functions did, but I thought they were cool. Keyboards. I loved these keyboards, especially at school. We had keyboards like this, but we used to basically only play the demo button. I think we had that one actually. We had that one and we had that one definitely at college. Sorry, at school. PSR, I remember, but I don't think they've got the PSR models here. PSS. We used to run to the cupboard, see who can get the best keyboard. And always someone ended up with the most tiny one. Buggies. Here's some cool stuff. So I used to love looking at this part of the catalogue. It was my favourite part. Remember the Major Morgan, and I had the Speak and Spell, and my sister had the Speak and Maths, which was very cool. I used to love that thing. It was absolutely brilliant. And I used to also like these Game & Watches as well. I did have one, but mine didn't have a double screen. Mine had a single screen. But these were like the go-to cheapo game playing things if you couldn't afford a proper games console. Well, to be fair, the game consoles didn't really exist, but you could get the Spectrum or Commodore 64 or Amstrad CPC or something like that. I had friends that had these. I used to think they were really cool as well. Really wanted one. Toby 3D games. I think they gave you a headache after a while. I remember these robots as well. Alien Attack. And then we've got the Scalextric stuff. I loved Scalextrics. I think the boxes were more exciting than actually using them, but I didn't have a Scalextrics. I had the other brand called, what was it called? I can't remember now. Someone can tell me in the comments. It wasn't Scalextrics, it was another brand. It might be on the next page, but all the train tracks as well. I used to think they were cool. Sorry, I keep saying cool, but it's the only word I can think of really. Classic games. I bet some of these are still probably knocking around. Pictionary. Some sort of football games. Compendium. I remember we had that, Compendium. Monopoly. Didn't have any of these others. Game of Life. I remember that being really popular. Remember the advert for that. Go for Broke. Yeah. My sister had Space Attack. I loved that. It was really noisy though. It used to give me a headache. Mr. Pop, I remember that one as well. Coleman I thought was super cool. I really liked the look of Coleman. Didn't have it. I did get Screwball Scramble, but I was about 12 or 13 when I got that. But it was a brilliant, really, really good, fun thing to play. Mousetrap. I didn't really like playing it, but I did like setting up the trap. I think that's what most people did. Buckaroo, my sister had. Guess Who, classic again. Yep. Lego, staple of my childhood. Absolutely loved my Lego. Loved Technic even more. But I had some fairly basic sets, and then I got into Technic Lego. In fact, I had that very model there, which was a go-kart, which was called 18, which was Technic go-kart, £12, 45, wow. Yeah, I don't think you'd get anything like that for £12.45 now. Probably cost you about 25 quid. Legos seem to have gone crazy prices now. Remember the space sets. I did have a space set, but a really small one. Don't remember these things. Constructs. Oh, I do remember that thing. 12. Mad Masher Monster Machine. Yeah, I remember that. I love Matchbox cars as well. One of my favourite things. Mask. Such a great kids TV show, and I absolutely loved all these toys. I thought they were brilliant. I didn't have any mask vehicles, but I just thought they were cool. There's a guy at school that had basically all of them. Really good stuff. Such a good TV show as well. Mobile Armoured Strike Command was the acronym. And then I remember this stuff as well, Manta Ray, that was really popular. They sold those for years. Dino Riders. Yeah. We've got Thundercats, one of my favourites. I remember Centurions as well. Didn't have any of those toys. Oh, I've got the Karate Kid figure set there. Never seen that before. Thundercats stuff again. I don't recognise those, but must have been something I didn't see before. And then Transformers. I was a big fan of Transformers. In fact, Transformers are probably my favourite. Galvatron. Optimus Prime, but I had the original Optimus Prime, not this kind of fancy version. Yeah, this was a bit more modern than the stuff I had. I had Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, I remember that. And I also had Metroplex, which was huge. Ghostbusters, loved the Ghostbusters franchise stuff, all the cartoons as well, the real Ghostbusters. I mean, this stuff is just, it's awesome. It's such a nostalgia hit. All the characters. Action Force, which was the UK's equivalent of G.I. Joe. I didn't have any of this stuff as well, but I just thought it was very cool. I'm sure loads of people had Action Force. Visionaries, I remember that. I remember the cartoon and the music for Visionaries. They had these holograms in their chest. The holograms were really big in the 80s. And we're on to some of the more girls stuff, I guess. Saying that, I used to get dressed up as a girl by my sisters, and we used to constantly watch them play Barbie. Well, I used to watch from a distance anyway. I think I remember My Little Pony as well being really big. My Little Pony being really popular. There's loads of that stuff here. Popples. Keepers. I remember those. Jeepers Creepers, or Where Do You Keep Your Keepers, or something like that. There was an advert for people to put their, kids to put their stuff in and lock it away from their brothers. I remember that. The My Pet Monster, that was really popular. Alf, the alien, or Elf, is it Elf? Alf, no, it was Alf. Play school stuff, this is more baby stuff. I remember the that thing, the Bluebird kitchen thing. I don't know what you want to call it. My sister had that, the big yellow teapot. I think she still got that somewhere. I used to think that was really cool. I used to love that. I remember those things as well, glow friends, glowworms. I had that, was one of my favourite toys, which was the Tomy Turbo dashboard, and I've still got it, and I've still got it in the box as well, and it works. Classic, 18, that was £17.95. Be interested to see what that goes for on eBay now. I also had that, which was one of my favourite toys, which was like a toolkit, Fisher Price toolkit thing. Mine was slightly different to that, had a few different bits, but very similar. I was super excited one Christmas getting that. These are all classics. Mr. Frosty, my sister had, was really exciting at the time, but was actually pretty shite. Etch-a-Sketch, Spirograph. I had that, Hairy Horrors. That was brilliant. Mop Chop, I think it was called, or something like that, where you could cut their hair by putting Play-Doh in and pressing this thing, and it's to squeeze out the hair. Really cool, really messy, but good fun. I remember that Fisher-Price thing. I didn't have anything on here, but I had friends that had stuff like this. Pot Black, I had that one. Used to got that one Christmas, played with it obsessively for months. It was brilliant fun. Remember these cattle cars as well. I always wanted one of those, but never got one. Very cool. And that is it. Let me know in the comments if you found anything in here nostalgic to you, stuff that you had. Be interested to know. If you like this kind of content, give it a thumbs up. I've got some other magazines that are old. I might do a little bit of a review on those as well and put them on my channel. If you want that, let me know. Catch you next video.